Welcome to the Hawkins Observer, a podcast where two half-lifelong friends recap and analyze every episode of Stranger Things as we prepare for the release of the final season this November.
As always, we'll give you a scene-by-scene recap discussing the plot and developments, as well as sharing our thoughts, memories, and reactions.
We actually kick off this episode right where we left off. Billy is in existential trouble, Mike has relational trouble, Dustin has translational trouble, and Hopper has unrelational trouble.
So pour yourself a glass of Chianti and brush up on your Russian, because here comes Season 3, Episode 2, The Mall Rats.
That's great double meaning coming up. Just rats in general. Folks, we said this November, but it is November. I mean, we are on the home stretch of anticipating the release of season 5. So there's no time like the present to comment. Are you looking forward to the last season? And give us a subscribe because we've got some really cool content coming soon.
Yes, some different stuff.
Might even involve some slideshows.
Yeah, subscribe so you can not miss that.
All right. Well, here comes episode 2. Starts out in the abandoned warehouse. All seems quiet until it's not. Billy is like ejected or thrown from the stairs up to the top level, and he just runs outside, runs to his car, speeds off, and just down the road, he happens to encounter a payphone, and he dials 911, and someone answers, "What's your emergency?" And no sooner does that person answer, he starts having like flashbacks of what just happened, which includes something covering his mouth like a giant alien sucker or something. Then Billy is in the upside down. And in the distance, in the dark, there's like a army of people marching towards him. And he starts shouting, "What do you want?" And a group of people comes towards him, closer, closer, until he is face to face with a exact image or person that is himself. He's double now. Roll credits.
I mean, like, again, we talked about every episode kind of has its own strange thing, like, or monster or villain. We had the Demogorgon, we had the Mind Flayer, and we still really haven't been introduced to what this season's is, but we've seen, some strange things with magnets and then rats, and now Billy in this same kind of steelworks building. And it's all very weird and confusing so far, but it's like some familiarity with the upside down, and the kind of, sucker kind of tentacle thing. But yeah, this army of marching people towards him, and then he's one of them. Like, what is going on? And, we don't start liking Billy necessarily as a character, but we start sympathizing that, like, like he's, got he got
He got. Took the words right out of my sucker mouth.
Whatever that is going to come to mean.
Next scene, it's morning at Hopper and Eleven's cabin, and Eleven's on the porch pacing like she's waiting for something. So she goes inside and she calls Mike, and Hopper sees her kind of storm in. Is everything okay? So she calls the Wheeler residence. Karen answers, and then she yells for Mike. "Mike, phone!" She's always yelling in the house, like it's kind of funny. Mike picks up, and 11 goes, "It's 9:32. Where are you?" And Mike starts stuttering and stammering. I can't see you today. Something's wrong with my Nana." So he's just making up this lie about his Nana, and just goes on and on. And all of a sudden, he hears his mom on the phone. "Is something wrong with Nana? Did she call?" And his mom had been eavesdropping the whole time. And so Mike yells back at his mom. And then he tries to get off the phone with 11. He's like, "I need to be alone today with my feelings." Every time someone says feelings, especially the dudes, it's like it raises like a question. I need to be alone with my feelings. And then 11 calls him out. "Do you lie?" "What? No, friends don't lie." And then eventually he gets off the phone basically saying, sorry, can't see you today. 11 doesn't explain this to Hopper once she gets off the phone, but then Jim kind of gets a little smirk and a little familiar song starts playing. You don't mess around with Jim. Next thing we know, Hopper's in his car, presumably driving to the police station, and he is as happy as we've seen him in a very long time. He walks into Melvald's general store to see Joyce, and he goes, blah, blah, blah. Order has been restored. So he's just rejoicing that for the first time in 6 months, 11 and Mike are not going to see each other today. So he's like, finally, I did something. And Joyce is like, you did it. And Hopper's like, no, it's thanks to you. And she's like, you didn't get mad or upset, did you, at Mike? And he's like, no, no, no. And he's like, he said, getting to Mike was the key. And then Hopper goes, I'll tell you everything about it over dinner. And Joyce take it back. And Hopper's like, before you say no, this is not a date. Joyce's like, what? Who said anything about a date? And before they pick a time, Joyce still plays hard to get, but they pick a time and a location. And before he can say any more, he gets a call from one of his deputies to get your ass down to town hall. Uh, on his way out, Hopper of the general store, he almost trips over or trips on some magnets on the floor. And so Joyce walks up to them and inspect them. It's as if these magnets have lost their magnetism.
And she's holding them up to the metal shelving unit where they used to be, and they're just not sticking.
Mm-hmm.
But Hopper's elation is so fun to watch because just in the last two episodes, he's been so downtrodden and like so just beaten down by Eleven's relationship with Mike and his lack of control we just talked about in the last episode. But like it worked with Mike, his little tirade about not, um, not being around too much and then kind of respecting him and blah blah blah. And Mike is conflicted because he's made this rule that friends don't lie, but like Hopper is not to be trifled with, and Mike isn't gonna risk the anger of Hopper. I mean Hopper, the police chief, or Hopper, Eleven's dad,
That's true.
to follow through on his promise. And Eleven's caught in the crossfire. Like she didn't do anything wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but Hopper got to Mike in a way that worked, and so now Eleven's going to pay the price, not seeing Mike because Hopper scared him off.
Yeah, Hopper obviously came up with a uh something to the point where Mike didn't come clean with 11. Like Mike
Yeah.
made up this lie because, the alternative was he could have said, yo, your dad's crazy. He doesn't want me to see you anymore. And then 11 would have got pissed at him, at Hopper. And then who knows? Basically, Hopper convinced Mike, it's better that 11 is mad at you right now than at me. And this is better for
Yeah.
all of us. So
Yeah.
smooth move.
Yeah. And Hopper used the opportunity in all of his joy to sneak a date with Joyce because he
Smart
said
man.
it's not a date, but I mean, in his mind, it clearly is.
Yep. We cut to Nancy at the Hawkins paper office, and she's kind of distracted. She's pouring someone some coffee, and she's reading over her note from last night, something about sick rats, and she spills a bit of the coffee. She's so distracted, and then she gets an idea, and she goes to ask her boss for the afternoon off, or like, can the other ladies deliver the sandwiches today? And the boss puts up a hard fight, like, no, like they're doing their jobs. We need you here. And then Nancy comes up with the lie. Everyone's so good at lying in the show. Nancy tells her boss, I really need to go to the doctor for some girl problems. And he gets almost squeamish and is like, yeah, oh, yeah, go, go. So Nancy barges in on Jonathan and ruins another Jonathan photo. I think this is the third time probably she's barged into his dark room and basically like, come on, let's go. And they take off to investigate these sick rats.
Yeah, they've proven to be good investigators with the Hawkins lab last season, so
Mm-hmm.
you trust that they'll find something if it's to be found.
Yeah. We cut to the mall, the Star Court, and everything's bright and fun and happy. And Dustin walks up and meets Robin at the for the first time at the ice cream parlor. And Robin calls for Steve to come out, and Dustin and Steve have a joyous reunion. Just they're doing their handshakes and high fives and hugging. And Dustin's like, "Hey, you got the job." And they're just so excited to each other. And Robin interrupts with a funny line. How many children are you friends with? So funny. Dustin talks about his new girlfriend, and Steve's like, "What?" And he just Dustin describes how hot she is the same way he described her to the other kids. And Dustin kind of starts inferring about Steve's love life, like, what about Robin? She seems cool. And Steve goes, she's not. And then Steve goes, so where are the other knuckleheads? And Dustin, he's like, they ditched me. It's my first day back and they ditched me. And Steve's pissed. He's like, that's not cool. But then Dustin's got something else that's even more important than where his other friends are. He whispers like, this is something that's going to make us like heroes. I stayed out last night and I intercepted a secret Russian communication. And Steve can't hear him. He says it a little louder. Can't hear him. And then finally, Dustin yells, I intercepted a secret Russian communication. And like, it's record scratch. Everyone stops and looks. And Steve's like, okay, that was probably too loud. And Dustin's like, if we figure out if like this is real, like we could be true American heroes. Like if we report this to the authorities or whatever, like we could be heroes, Steve, and you can have all the ladies you want and more. And they're both just kind of shaking their heads simultaneously, like daydreaming about being heroes. And Dustin says, all I need help with is the translation of the Russian.
Yeah, Dustin's always um thinking about the betterment of the party, but also at the same time, like has his own ulterior motive of like the Demodog is going to be this amazing discovery, this scientific discovery that he was going to get credit for,
Hmm.
that, Dart especially. And now he's like, you know, he just has these great, almost like a delusion of grandeur that everything that he comes in contact with is going to make him famous or, make he and Steve rich or whatever. So it's fun to watch them together. But yeah, the when they see each other, you know, Dustin's just really happy to see Steve, and Steve is like Henderson. Like they have this kinship that's just so great. This just kind of innocent
Yeah.
kinship, but they're yeah, I love their little friendship and relationship, and Dustin's got um yeah, so we're not sure really if Dustin's onto something or if he just picked up some, static and is kind of chasing a red herring. We don't really know yet.
Sure. I mean, he says this thing can talk from North to South Pole. So, I mean, who's to say he really didn't just pick up a Russian talk radio? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
We cut to, I'm going to go down on the floor for a minute and go never ending story style for a minute. Gosh, it looks so fancy where I am.
Look at that ceiling.
Oh, that's nice. Got a little stretch going. Okay. We cut to Max out front of her house and she's practicing some moves on a skateboard and she kind of falls off and the board gets out from under her. But 11 happens to be there to stop it. Makes you wonder if 11 knocked her off of it again, like she did when she saw
Yeah.
Max and Mike together. But anyway, I love this scene because Elle's still so awkward. She walks up to Max and goes, hi. And Max goes, hi. And then 11 goes, can we talk? And then eventually, whatever she said, Max cuts to it. He's a piece of shit. I guarantee you, he and Lucas are playing Atari right now. So obviously, 11's there to say, what just happened to me and Mike? Like, why was he like this on the phone? And then Max 11 says, but friends don't lie. And Max goes, friends don't lie, but boyfriends lie all the time. And then we cut to Lucas and Mike, and they're also kind of processing what just happened. And it just kind of goes back and forth between these two, friend groups discussing the opposite sex. And so Max gets to it again. She's like, just treat him like he doesn't exist. Treat him like garbage. And if he doesn't come back around, you should dump his ass. And so Mike looks like he's physically in pain thinking about his mistake. Like he's just like he looks He looks like he's been punched. And then Lucas is like, man, it's fine. We're gonna be fine. Max has dumped me 5 times, but there's a way to get her back, so don't worry. And Will is actually in the room too, and he's been listening in, and he's setting up D&D because he assumed that they were going to get to play D&D together. And Max gets an idea, is like, come on, there's more to life than stupid boys. And then Mike and Lucas take off on a mission as well, for almost pretty much forgetting that Will's there. And Will's like, guys, wait, I'm still
Oh,
here, guys.
oh, these kids are growing up. I mean, Lucas and Max and Mike and Eleven, like they're experiencing things that they didn't experience in season 1 and 2. Just the relationships and all of just the politics and drama that comes with it, and
Ugh.
the mixed motives. Like Mike, what is Mike supposed to do? Like Hopper pulled rank on him, and
Mm-hmm.
like Hopper was the one who lied in the first place about his nana, so Mike is just kind of continuing on that.
That's true.
And it's funny that Max is giving Eleven this advice to dump Mike if he's, not going to come crawling back to her. And then Lucas is like, yeah, Max has dumped me 5 times. It's like, yep, that checks out. um, and then a poor Will just gets left in the dust. Like, we mentioned he's smaller. He might be younger, even if he's in the same grade or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've also mentioned he's kind of lost a lot of time over the last couple of years. And so he just wants things to kind of be back to normal now that he's not possessed by the mind flayer,
Yeah.
and his friends have kind of moved on relationally. And yeah, it's such a relatable scene if you've been an American teenager at any
Yeah.
point.
There's nothing like the opposite sex or your junior high relationships that can become your world, to the point where even if you've been experiencing supernatural phenomenon in your town,
Yes.
the drama of opposite sex can just it is your whole world.
Yeah, because you've kind of left your parents. You might be 14 or 15, but like you've kind of left your parents as the kind of end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to find something else to
Mm-hmm.
do. It's so fickle.
I still am trying to find something else. Okay, anyway, we from there we cut to the public pool, and our normal group of cougars, I mean ladies, are they're literally annoyed by the voice of the female lifeguard. Like the lifeguard yells at somebody, and the ladies are like, I don't even like her voice. And they're like, don't worry, 10 minutes till showtime. Karen sees Billy arrive. He kind of beelines somewhere, and Karen goes, I've got to use the restroom. Will you watch Holly for me? So Karen goes to talk to Billy, and she's wearing a swimsuit and high heels. Apparently, flip flops, no. I think in the 80s, she should have been wearing jellies, to the
Yeah.
pool. But anyway, she's wearing high heels. Uh, and she sees Billy, and he's in some sort of locker room or a maintenance closet almost. And Karen starts, talking apologetically to Billy, but Billy keeps his back to her the whole time. And in this conversation, this apology, we find out that Karen actually didn't go to the hotel to get a swim lesson. And we see Billy, and he just looks awful, like he's sweating and maybe crying. And Karen's like, I have a family and I can't do anything to hurt them. And then out of nowhere, Billy turns around, swings his arm, and basically grabs Karen's head and rams her head into a shelf and, like, assumedly kills her and knocks her out. And I was like, what? What? But then it cuts right back to the scene, and it was apparently like a fever dream or just a vision that Billy caught, because he didn't actually do that, but obviously he was thinking about it. So when he actually does turn around and face Karen, he just says, "Stay away from me, Karen." And he walks outside to take his post like he's drunk or sick, and everything's like very vibrant and bright, like he's just overstimulated now that he's outside and walking around.
Jeez. I mean, two things happen simultaneously in this episode or in this scene where we get Karen being a little bit more rational here. Like, I do have a family. I'm married. I'm committed. I've got these kids. You know, even in this scene, she tells one of the other moms to watch Holly for her.
Hmm.
So she's responsible for Holly. We saw her almost walk out the door with Holly asleep in Ted's lap. So,
Hmm.
but at the same time, Billy is just not like himself. He's not
Mm-mm.
putting any moves on her. He's totally disinterested. We get this weird, like, flash vision of him just absolutely wrecking Karen's head into this locker door. It
Yeah.
didn't actually happen. And then he's like, stay away from me. Karen is like, what is going on?
Hmm.
Yeah, when he walks out, it's almost like the sun is turned up to 11. It's just like overexposed almost with the camera. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, Billy does not look good. So whatever happened to him in the basement of that steelworks building?
Yep. I mean, Karen, it's funny that Karen's talking so like it's a weird situation for Karen because she walks in to apologize and maybe she thinks that Billy's actually hurt that she didn't show up, which
Yeah.
Billy wouldn't be the kind to get hurt anyway by that. He would take the snobby sexist high road anyway, even if she had stood him up. But anyway, yeah, very
Well, and it's interesting too that Billy didn't show up to the hotel. Like the hotel was one that was stood up by both of them. Like if Karen went to the hotel, she would have been stood up because
that's
Billy
true.
he was occupied.
From there, we cut to back to the ice cream shop, and Erica is essentially just taste testing every flavor of ice cream she can. And Robin is super annoyed by this. And Robin's like, "Didn't you just try that?" And Erica says, "I'd like to try it again." And she yells at Steve because Robin's like, "It's your turn to scoop." And Steve doesn't know Russian, but Dustin's playing back the recording of what he had captured from the transmission. And Robin barges in and is like, "Let me help. I can help you with the translation. Like, I'm a really good listener." And they're like, Dustin and Steve are like, "How does she know what we're doing?" But Robin catches that. She's like, "You guys are super loud. I know exactly what you've been talking about. I want to help you. I'm also super bored. Steve, go scoop."
Yeah, I mean, this new character is entering the kind of the canon of what's,
Hmm.
potential for this season. I mean, she's not just, at least in this scene, and so far, she's not just a co-worker of Steve's at the ice cream. Like she's now helping Dustin with this Russian translation.
Hmm.
So, we wonder maybe if she's got some other role to play here
First new character in a while, too, right?
since
Like
Billy.
since Billy and Max kind of.
Yeah.
Um, Jonathan and Nancy pull up to a Mrs. Driscoll's house, and she's the one that had called, and Nancy intercepted the phone call the day before, I think. And Mrs. Driscoll lives alone. Her husband died 10 years ago. Mrs. Driscoll leads them to the basement, and she shows them like that the rats have been getting into fertilizer. And Nancy and Jonathan are like, "Are you sure it was mice? Like, why would mice eat fertilizer? That doesn't sound right." And then we hear a noise, and Mrs. Driscoll's like, "Oh yeah, I caught one of the little bastards."
Yeah. I mean, she's so innocent and she's also kind of unaffected by it. Like she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you came down. Here's kind of what's been happening." And it's kind
Yeah,
of, the situation's weird, but she's not spooked by it, at least
no.
in the description. And she's kind of proud of herself that she called them and then she's proud that she caught one of them. Um, but yeah, none of it makes sense to Nancy. Like rats don't eat fertilizer. And she's old enough that Nancy's like, there's probably another more practical explanation.
Yeah, I don't know if it was this scene or an upcoming one where the idea that maybe these rats have rabies that's suggested at some point, and that's actually kind of believable. Like, oh, they're acting bizarre and they're eating things they wouldn't normally get into. So okay, maybe they have rabies.
And I think Nancy starts to get a little worried that like maybe there really isn't much of a story here.
Yeah. A side note, because my my roommate Brandon had already watched Stranger Things, so he's rewatching it. Our other roommate Kenzie, she'd watched it, she's rewatching it, but our other roommate Malia had never watched it, so Kenzie's making Malia watch it. for the first time, and
Which
Kenzie.
I'm out. If you go back, if as an our audience member, if you want to go back and watch the episode that Chris and I did in person together, where we're in his living room,
Uh-huh.
simultaneous to us recording that episode,
Oh yeah.
Kinsey was introducing Malia to Stranger Things season one, episode one, upstairs,
Yes.
directly above where we were recording that recap.
Yeah. So as a result of all of us as roommates being like super into back into Stranger Things right now, Kinsey renamed our roommate group chat. She renamed us the Rabid Rats.
I love
That's
it.
like that is funny.
And you guys have a one of those reader boards in your kitchen where you can put letters up. And the week after I was there
Uh-huh.
visiting you guys, it was Ted's quote from season one. What'd
What
I
I
do?
do when I just got home recently, it's just said mouth breather.
I love
So
it.
that's fun. That
Love it.
Malia's hook, line, sinker.
Success. Great success.
Great success. All right. From the basement of Mrs. Driscoll's, we cut to, I think, City Hall. And there's a lot of protesters out there with signs and placards. And we hear them kind of in unison start to chant, Klein is a swine. So the mayor, I guess, is named Klein. Hopper is there, and he's actually been called there for something, and he's waiting his turn to talk to the mayor. As we see someone walking out, we don't see their head or face, but we just see that they're a big person with a motorcycle helmet walks past, right past Jim. So Jim, it's his turn to talk to Mayor Klein, and Mayor Klein just wants Jim to remove the protesters because they don't have a permit, and they're protesting because they're losing their jobs and businesses to the mall. But the mayor's like, but people love the mall, and that's going to happen that they stop shopping at mom and pops. That's just the natural thing that happens. And the mayor's like, it's all going to be fine really soon because on the 4th of July, I'm going to throw a celebration and it's going to make everything right. And Hopper's just like, he doesn't really want to deal with them because, maybe he kind of relates to them, but he just doesn't think it's that big of a deal. And then uh, it finishes with the mayor telling Hopper, please just do your job, flash your little gold badge and get rid of them.
Classic. Um, the scene from Newsies with the Pulitzer and William Randolph Hearst, and all the Newsies are protesting, and he's just like, "Go home, everybody, go home." You don't want naysayers, and he's asking Jim to stop doing real police work to pull some technicality about a permit
Mm-hmm.
that is probably very easily obtained,
Mm-hmm.
that is probably never enforced when it comes to the American right to protest.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim's like, you really want me to do this for you? We get the impression Hopper's not a big fan of Klein anyway.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, in this scene, Hopper's just like wants to tell him to kick rocks, but he's the mayor and he's got a little bit of leverage. He apparently is technically right about the permits,
Sure.
and Hopper's just feels a little like he doesn't have any recourse.
Uh, from there, we cut to a city bus pulling up somewhere, and it's Max and Elle that get off the bus. And Elle looks worried immediately, and she just says, too many people against the rules. And we realize that they're at the mall. And Max is like, what's the worst that can happen? You have superpowers. So the two girls go in the mall, and Eleven is immediately just like so happy to be there. They go on like this lovely 80s montage style shopping spree. And we find out that Eleven's actually never been shopping because Hopper has a rule of not going into public with that many people. However, while they're going on a shopping spree, the boys are also there. And Lucas, the big plan is Lucas tells Mike, you have to buy something that's like that figuratively says like I'm sorry. So they're shopping for a present for Elle so that Mike can say he's sorry.
Yeah, it's a great season three scene where
Mm-hmm.
like they're just enjoying this booming economy and the mall in Hawkins and like all this
Mm-hmm.
colored clothing, and they do a little fashion show for each other in the dressing rooms between 11 and Max, and like we're right there with them. Like I remember the first time going to a big, shopping mall, and it's just
Hmm.
like it's amazing. And 11's branching out. She's not following the rules about not being around too many people, and
Yeah.
yet here the boys are like we've all had to buy that I'm sorry present. And you're like, what am I supposed to get?
Yeah. Even though we haven't seen too many dark things yet, but it's Stranger Things, we know it's going to be dark, including Billy getting sucked down a stairwell.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin so far this season is so cheery and bright. Like the mall scenes always have fun music. The ice cream parlor always has like just jolly music playing. So the we're it's almost like you're questioning like how bad can things really get? Things seem to be going pretty well, and the music is so,
Yeah.
happy and jolly.
When it's the first season that we're not in cold weather. Like people aren't wearing
Hmm,
coats. In season 1 and 2, we're in November, December,
that's
and now
true.
we're in,
High heels and bathing
late
suits.
June. Yeah. Heels. Yeah,
I
exactly.
can't I can't wait for the next season. I'm gonna try that look out. Back to Joyce at work. No one's there. And she has time. She's like investigating magnets in general. We see that she's got a bunch of books from the library on the counter. No one's shopping there because sadly it's a mom and pop. People don't apparently shop there anymore.
Yep.
And she's getting frustrated trying to read all this stuff about how magnets work. And then she realizes she'd get a quicker answer if she just goes and talks to the boy's science teacher. So we cut to his house, and it's his summer. He's a teacher, so he's summer off. So he's in his garage and he's like painting figurines. I don't know what kind, maybe you do, but he's painting figurines. Joyce knocks, 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 no answer. So she starts to go back to the car as the garage door opens, and the teacher's just standing there with his like magnifying glasses on.
I love the reveal of Scott Clark with the garage door. Just the garage door goes up and it just reveals his ankles and then his shins and then his thighs. And he's just there.
Yeah.
Classic. But yeah, Joyce is on her own little curiosity voyage now.
Oh, that's true.
Figure out what's going on with these magnets because she's not unaffected by this. She has had enough weird things happen to her.
Yeah.
She's Something's going on.
Her spidey senses are easily tingled when something's weird. All right, from there, oh crap, I just scurried my note. Too many people. Joyce. Okay, here we are. We cut back to Mrs. Driscoll's house, and the rat is in its cage. So they see the rat, and it's going crazy, just bouncing off the sides. And Jonathan's trying to take pictures of it, but it's like it's moving too fast for him to get a good picture. Nancy's upstairs making phone calls, and I think she calls animal control to see if there's any been reports about rabid rats or anything out of the ordinary, and no answer. The old lady's so kind; she offers Nancy a fresh squeezed lemonade. And then the rat downstairs with Jonathan eventually stops bouncing off the sides of the cages and rolls over and just starts cavorting and writhing. It looks like it's in pain. And Jonathan's like, what is about to happen here? No sooner does he think something's about to happen, Nancy bursts downstairs and scares him. And she's like, I have a lead. Let's go. And Jonathan's like, well, I didn't get my shot, but fine. So they leave. And then right after they leave, the rat self-combusts, which we've seen before. These rats on the floor of that abandoned warehouse or abandoned. So it does that. It explodes. But then the lights flicker, and this sludge that used to be a rat moves. It actually slides through the cage because it's gelatinous. So it slides through, lands on the floor, and then when it hits the floor of the basement, it scurries away.
Yeah.
Like,
Like here we are in episode 2, and we still don't really know what's going on.
mm-mm.
Like 10 minutes into season 1, episode 1, Will goes missing, and we
Mm,
actually got a flash of the Demogorgon.
mm,
Season 2, you know, uh, we we get the shadow. We see the shadow monster in like the second scene,
mm,
and here we've got rats eating fertilizer. Billy gets pulled down to the basement of the steelworks building. Rats are exploding into some red goo. But like we still don't know what's happening.
right. Yep. Um, okay, so we cut back from the rat scurrying off. We cut back to the upside down, both upside down Billies. So this is back to that phone
Yep.
booth in the deserted or the backcountry road, and the Billies confront each other, and our normal Billy goes, "What do you want?" And the upside down Billy goes, "I want you to build." Billy's like, "Build what?" And the upside down Billy's like, "What you see." And Billy's like, "I don't understand. I don't understand." And then Billy snaps out of it. He comes to, and he's just been sitting on the lifeguard stand again, baking under the sun, and he notices like a wound on his elbow. And so he's like staggers off like he's drunk or has a weird fever or something. So he staggers off to the locker room, and he turns on the shower, and he just starts to yell. And he looks down at his arm, and his veins are turning black, kind of like the vines we've seen in the upside down. So his veins are turning black. And then the his counterpart, female lifeguard, she appears, and Billy notices her, and she looks a little weird, and the what we hear her say is, "Take me to him." And then Billy kind of snaps out of it again, and the female lifeguard's actually like, "I said, are you hurt?" And Billy just looks sad, but also just like he's about to become violent. And sure enough, there's a flash of activity, and it looks like something violent just happened.
Yeah, you mentioned fever dream in one of the last scenes. And it's exactly, if you've had a fever dream before, it's almost exactly what's happening here, where Billy is almost existing in two different like timelines or two different scenarios at
Mm-hmm.
once.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's in the real world, but it's like he's seeing almost like hallucinating. Um, and yeah, it's starting to come together a little bit with the take me to him. I want you to build. So this scene gives us a little bit more clarity, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Know that Billy is being affected by something, and um yeah, he's not himself for sure.
Mm-mm.
And yeah, we don't know what happened to this girl who, came up on him in the shower, but
Nope. From there, dark scene. We're back at the mall and everything's happy and fun. It's
yeah,
very juxtaposy.
yeah.
The boys walk out of a some sort of jewelry store, and they were Mike questions how much one thing is. It turns out it was $300. That's not going to work. And Max and Eleven are just they're bonding. It's like they've never had this type of girl fun before. In fact, Material Girl is playing, so it's just very fun. What they're have. And 11 tries to walk in high heels, so that's a nice juxtaposition of high heels. But it's her first time trying. She falls in the store, and there's some older girls there that kind of give Max and 11 like the stink eye. But it cuts to Max and 11 spying on these girls outside the store who gave them the stink eye, and 11 uses her powers to cause their soda pops or drinks to explode in their face, and they Max and 11 walk off or run off just laughing so hard. And then we cut briefly back to a defeated Mike and Lucas, and Will's just like, "Okay, can we just play D&D now?" And the boys are like, "No."
It's fun to watch 11 and Max's friendship because
Mm-hmm.
2 episodes ago, when they kind of meet each other at the end of season 2, 11 just walks right past her and just ignores that she's even there.
Yep.
Now they are BFFs, living their best life.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of understand, like, maybe 11 doesn't need a boy. Like, as much as we like Matt or Mike, you know, they've got a real friendship here. Now, we don't trust exactly that Max is giving her the best advice,
Sure.
but Mike did lie to her. So it's fun to watch this. And then we see again, Will is like that, he's like that little kid that was promised, a afternoon at the playground. And he's like, are we going to go there now? Is it now? Can we go now? What about, now? You said so.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
We cut to still in the mall, but we cut to the back room of the ice cream shop where Robin and Dustin are working on the translation and of the Russian transmission. They get their first sentence. It says, "The week is long." And then Max and 11 walk into the ice cream store to get ice cream, and Steve questions it. He's like, "Wait, are you even allowed to be here?" And the girls walk outside because everything's funny today. When they walk out of the ice cream, then they walk out of the mall as if they're about to get back on the bus, presumably go home. When they walk outside the mall, the girls see the boys see the girls. And Mike immediately realizes the severity of the situation. So Mike is just like, what are you doing here? Like, she's not supposed to be in public. And 11 is just like, why do you treat me like garbage? And Mike's like, what do you mean? Like, my Nana's sick. And Lucas pitches in, yeah, she's sick. And we're hanging out because she's sick. And we're here to get you a present. So they fess up a half truth. Like, they actually are there to get her a present. And Eleven's not having it. She walks up to Mike and she goes, you lie. I dump your ass. So funny. obviously,
Classic.
obviously, the boys are distraught, just shocked, but the girls are back on the bus and they high five and laugh about it. And then Will does not read the room. Will once again goes, now can we play D&D? And the boys are like, no.
I mean,
Oh,
this was one of those there's only been a few of these up to this point in Stranger Things, these quotes from the show that kind of made it into the pop culture vernacular. And
uh-huh.
I dump your ass is definitely one of them, maybe the most popular up to this point.
Yeah,
Because Eleven's grasp of the language is still not 100% when
that's right.
she doesn't use kind of the flow of speech well with prepositions and pronouns and stuff. But yeah, I dump your ass is so good.
Yeah,
Straight and to the point. And then Will, poor guy. I mean, you feel like, okay, you've this whole time you've been saying no because you have these girlfriends, but like Mike, you don't have a girlfriend anymore.
let's go play.
Like, like you don't have any excuses anymore.
Oh, so sad. Uh, we cut to Hopper and he's handcuffing someone, one of the protesters, and the protester's like, he raised my property taxes, Jim, and he forced me off my land. And Hopper's just, he doesn't really act sympathetic. He's in job mode and, putting handcuffs on the guy and throw him in the back of the cruiser. And Hopper's like, you have to take the proper channels first. And the protester's like, yeah, but there's nothing proper about what that man did to us. Meanwhile, Flo walks up to the situation, strange, and she brings Hopper a bag, and inside there's a very fancy shirt. And Hopper's like excited, like, yeah, this is the one. And the deputy and Flo are like, what do you want this for? And Hopper's like, it's cutting edge. We cut to he walks in the restaurant and he's wearing this new shirt and a blazer and jeans because it's Indiana. And a string quartet is playing. And he sits down and he, tries to feel fancy or something. And he orders a double scotch and then a bottle, he says, and a bottle of red for the table. And he's like, how's your Chianti? And the fancy waiter's like, the Chianti is very good, sir. So the waiter's like, the waiter kind of drives me crazy. Too fancy for Hawkins. And because it's the 80s, Hopper's at his table and he just lights up a cigarette and looks at his watch.
Yeah, so two things I want to point out in this scene. The first is when the guy that he's arresting is protesting the arrest, and you recapped it well here. He raised my property taxes and forced me off my land. That kind of comes and goes without much notice, but I don't think it should be skipped over. That
Mm,
he's just protesting this guy's like, oh, he built this mall and now the mom and pop shops are closing, which has kind of been the political, you know, uproar to this point. But
mm,
now it's like, what do you mean he forced you off your land? Like, what were you living where the mall was
mm.
built?
Yeah.
Maybe, or we don't really know, but like that's this guy's protest.
Hmm.
But yeah, then Hopper goes to he's just like finally going to get a date with Joyce. He looks very proud of himself. He looks like he's really kind of strutting his stuff, feeling himself in this, not a really Hawaiian shirt, but it's definitely a bright colored pattern.
Right.
Um, and he's gonna, yeah, he's got a double scotch for himself and Chianti for the table.
Yep. I can relate to that.
It's probably
Uh,
the only like decently nice restaurant in like all of Roane County.
That's assumable. Yep. Uh, from there, we cut to Joyce, and she's still with Mr. Scott or Mr. Clark, the teacher. We assume this is at the same time. Oops.
Yep.
And the teacher's explaining soil solenoids and electromagnetic fields. And eventually he gets to the point where Joyce is like, okay, but how is this happening at my house? And the teacher's like, I bet you one of your boys woke up last night and knocked into it. It was an accident. And
Mhm.
then Joyce is like, oh, wait, but it also happened at my store. And Mr. Clark's like, there's a phenomena where when you see one thing, you start seeing everything, and it's just a coincidence.
Yep.
And so Joyce is like, no, how could this happen over such a large area? And she finally gets Mr. Clark to kind of hypothesize, and he says, well, if it'd be a multi-million dollar project to make such a large AC transformer, and it would need like billions of volts of electricity. And Joyce is like, so it is possible. And then that's one of Mr. Clark's favorite words. And so he's like, I tell my students, once you open that curiosity door, anything is possible.
I love Mr. Clark's just deal for knowledge.
Mm,
Interrupted his date with Dustin to explain sensory deprivation tanks.
hmm
Even though he's thinking this is practically impossible, just the fact that Joyce is so excited about the possibility that this has happened, he switches from, yeah, Joyce, I hypothetically it's possible, but that's not what's happening here. He doesn't really double down on that. He's like, you know, anything's possible. And he just is so happy to be explaining this for someone to be interested. And yet Joyce isn't happy to be learning this. She's kind of like, oh no, like something
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
all while probably not following through on her time commitment to Hopper.
Yeah. Curiosity is, joking aside, it's like curious people are often very happy because they're constantly, you know, discovering new things. But at the same time, if you're in Joyce's shoes, she's curious because this town has done her wrong so many times that she's
Yeah.
like, her curiosity voyage may not end well.
Well, she already knows what's possible with the lab and all this stuff. Like she's, yeah, and her beloved Bob Newby is no more, so she's not going to let this slide.
Mm-mm. From there, we cut back to the mall. It's after dark, mall's closed, the but Robin, Dustin, and Steve are still there, and they've got a few more sentences. The week is long. The silver cat feeds when blue meets yellow in the west. So they've made some progress with the Russian. They lock up the ice cream shop and they start talking about like, okay, what could it mean? What could it mean? And Robin's like, I can't believe I'm agreeing with a strange kid, but yeah, it's a secret Russian code. And they're like, yeah, the evil Russians. And all of a sudden, like, where'd Steve go? And Steve's like, I need a quarter. And they're like, what? He's like, give me a quarter. And he puts a quarter into this little toy, animatronic machine that kids ride. And they're like, what the heck is he doing? And he's like, listen. And sure enough, the song that plays when kids ride that little toy horse, you can hear that same song in the Russian transmission that Dustin recorded.
Yeah, the recording is so familiar to him now because they've been listening to it all day
Uh-huh.
that he uh just with his familiarity with the mall makes the connection that that horse plays that music.
Yeah, as he walks past it, it like triggers like,
This came from the mall,
mm,
which is
mm.
interesting that he's not thinking, oh, it's the same song. He's like, nope, it came from inside the mall. It's not just a coincidence
That's
to him.
true, because Robin's like, maybe they have those same horses over there, and they're like, no, this is a Indiana horse. So they play that down like, no, this,
Because it is like a regular classical piece or something. It's
yeah,
not.
yeah. Yeah, I agree that that's not hard evidence that the recording that the Russian happened within earshot of that horse. That's a bit of a jump.
But he makes that connection, and I mean, we're kind of led to believe that he's right.
We'll see. Now we're back at the restaurant. Hopper's still there. Joyce isn't there. And no Joyce, one drunk Hopper, and a violinist that kind of looks like a blonde mustached Shane Gillis. Did you notice that guy?
I didn't, but
At first I thought it was a cameo, and I had to like take a second take. It's like, is that did Shane Gillis somehow find his way as an extra?
before
It's
he was Shane Gillis.
that's true, but I don't think it's him. Anyway,
Funny.
Joyce isn't showing up, and Hopper's like, you know what? I don't want my entree. I'm not that hungry. And he slaps money on the table to pay for the alcohol and all the breadsticks he's been eating. And he makes a huge scene as he gets up because he's got the bottle of wine. He's going to take that with him. And the waiter's like, "Sir, you can't take alcohol out of here." And he blows a raspberry in the guy's face. He's like, "I'm the sheriff. I can do whatever I want." And he's just drunk, stumbling out. And he accidentally bumps into somebody sitting at the bar, and that person turns their head and watches Hopper leave. And it's the Russian Strangler. He's got a motorcycle helmet there on the bar. And it's the same guy we saw in episode 1 a year ago strangle
Yeah.
the now dead scientist. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. The Russian Strangler is in Hawkins. This
It
just
looks
got
like
real.
a dark-haired version of the Russian fighter, the blonde Russian fighter from like Rocky 4 or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks like a video game character, just like a flat top haircut and just like a caricature of a Russian bad guy.
Yep.
Um, but Hopper's little exclamation when he leaves, like, I can do what I want. I'm the chief of police. As he's drunk, like, and I mean, poor guy.
Yeah.
Joyce is on her curiosity voyage and leaving Hopper alone to get drunk at this table. And it's like brilliantly shot too, because he's at this table that's in the middle of the dining room. It's like just a standing one table where it's like really crowded. It's
Yeah.
not even like a side booth where he can kind of hide. He's literally just exposed in the middle of this dining room.
Yep. He makes a pretty big scene as he's leaving. From there, we cut to Billy in his Camaro, and it's roaring through the night. And he pulls up to the abandoned factory, the warehouse where he got. And he goes to his trunk and he opens the trunk, and inside the trunk is a body in a red swimsuit. It's the female lifeguard. From there, we quickly flash back to when he was in the shower and he actually does strangler her in the shower. Now he's carrying her motionless body into the factory, down the stairs, and he lays her down on the concrete. And she kind of comes to and she realizes what the heck and starts whimpering and starts to move. But he holds her down and whispers to her, "Don't be afraid. It'll all be over soon. Just stay very still." And he takes the tape off of her mouth and he kind of backs away. And she looks over and something emerges from the dark and she screams. A creature roars and the credits roll.
Ah, I mean, the fact that he takes the tape off of her mouth should not be ignored.
Correct.
He's not just trying to talk to her or have her talk back to him. Um, yeah, we're putting the pieces together. She says, "Take me to him," in his little, fever dream
Fever
flash
dream.
thing. She doesn't actually say that, but like
Mm-mm.
he hallucinates that she does.
Mm-hmm.
And he's full on possessed mode. Like he's doing somebody else's bidding, but we don't, I mean, the Demogorgon's not really at play here. We don't think the
Mm-hmm.
mind flayers behind the closed gate.
Mm-hmm.
All we have are rats eating fertilizer and exploding, and then Billy having this weird kind of almost like an illness. And at the end of episode 2, we still don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I forget in this scene, do we see the creature?
Not yet. Well,
Yeah. Know
maybe
that something kind of comes out of the
maybe a quick little
silhouette.
glimpse of it in the corner. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, this slow burn that we have at the beginning of this season is really unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's what makes season 3 so it's like it's different than the others, and I think it got a different reception and different reviews than the others
Yeah.
because of this slow reveal of the monster and the juxtaposition you pointed out between the bright happiness of the mall and the ice cream shop and the music and all the lights. It's not as dark of a visual as the other scenes, but then the scenes that are dark are like in the
Yeah.
basement of this abandoned factory that's very, really, really dark.
I just put one thing together. Both season 2 and 3, episode 1, first scene start outside Hawkins. So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting. Season 2, episode 1 started in Pittsburgh, I think it was, with Collie and
Yep.
friends. And now season 3, episode 1 started in presumably Russia. So this
Yep.
is it's our mind, like we thought season 2, episode 1, like, oh my gosh, people are aware outside of Hawkins that the rest of the world
Yeah.
exists. Now it's like, oh my gosh, this is an international problem or something crazy is going on. So
Yeah. And there's characters like Murray that we haven't seen in this season at all yet.
yeah.
Um, and a new character in Robin. Um, but yeah, I definitely think that they filmed this and produced this to be binged over summer break because it was just like, the slow reveal, I think, really kept people coming back for more.
Yeah. I mean, well, I really thought, Billy would have fought his way out of that encounter with the thing. But
Yeah. I love how you've got here. Turns out Billy wasn't okay. And I'm hearing Michael Jackson's like, Billy, are you okay? Billy, are you okay? He was not okay.
no.
And unfortunately, now we're going to see Billy angry in 2 dimensions. Because we've seen 2 Billies now, too. Like, that's just what 2 Billy.
Like you said, this is a slow burn. It feels like it's going to be like a really long season.
Yeah. And listen, we know we're a bit behind on posting recaps. Chris, should we just knock the rest out of the whole season out today?
We probably could pull a little all-nighter ourselves. Yeah, I think that's a deal. Don't go too far, y'all. We'll be right back here on the Hawkins Observer.